Okay, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our good friend for many years, who's going to be the facilitator this evening, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Howard. My name is Elizabeth. I'm an alcoholic, and today I'm here to read from page, um, sorry, 86. And here, I'll read the paragraph first and then talk about it. We're in step 11, on awakening. Let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking, especially adding that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance, for after all, God gave us brains to use. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. And give me one quick second. Okay. Just this year, I have reached the place where I cannot read the normal print of the big book without my readers. So I was reading from a non-press. I don't know if anyone uses that website. It's an old one. So if any of the words were out of order there. Oh, okay. The first thing, and I tell you what, it took a long time for me to even get disciplined in this program at all. I've talked about that. If anyone's heard me speak, I really, I don't know. I just didn't use this as a way of life. I tell people I've been sober, 37 years, but it really wasn't until 5 years ago. A combination of things happened. I got exposed to different messages of recovery, and I had started to go through some hard times. About 8 years ago, some things happened in my family. And then in the past 5 years, I've had other troubles that have really put me in places where I didn't have the answer. I didn't have the answer. I couldn't play God effectively in my life anymore. And that's when I really needed what you all had. I needed to find out what it was and find out how to use it. And I'm so grateful for how many teachers we have that I got to learn from. And I continue to learn every day. And I'm in a place right now in my life where it is an hour to hour process. I am living hour to hour. I'm going through something very painful in my life today. And so I am calling on God every hour and asking, what's next, and paying attention. Um, I didn't used to watch out for God all the time, and now I really am. And I woke up Saturday just full of fear. And God sent something into my life every hour that day. It was crazy. It was like all day. I was like, "What is going? This is amazing!" Like I wasn't alone. I was afraid I was going to be alone, and I got the opportunity to guest lead one of my favorite meetings, like last minute. It was kind of funny that he said, "Hey, something came up. Can you lead my meeting today?" I was like, "Well, wait a minute." And I actually asked someone to co-chair with me because I prayed and God said, ask her to come be part of it too, because there was a portion of the meeting I didn't know, so I'm really in that position. So I want you all to know I'm really using these tools in my life today. And I've never felt more like I needed to, because I know, for me, the pain of not using them becomes too great. I mean, I see why people go back out. I've been in places where the thought of a drink was like, wow, I really could do it. I could do it, you know, to wipe out the pain. I can see where it happens. And that scares me enough that I'm doing everything that AA suggests. So the on awakening, we think about our 24 hours ahead and our plans for the day. And notice how it says for the day, just for today. I don't need to worry about tomorrow. I don't need to worry about next week. I don't need to worry about yesterday. I spent so much time in my life being everywhere but here. And I love, the power of being in the right this moment, right this minute. If anybody in here is going through fear or any difficult challenges in your life, just think about the fact that right here, right now, in this moment, we're all together in this meeting. We're from all over the world, and we're okay. We have everything that we need right here, right now. I can look at a clock and say, okay, it's 5:19 p.m. I can feel my feet on the floor, my butt on this chair. You know, it's a beautiful day here. I was outside meditating before I came in. A gorgeous day here where I live in Louisville, Kentucky. And right here, I'm okay. There are some things going on in my life that I don't like and I can't control. And they make me really sad. And I could start crying right now, but I'm okay. And I'm going to be okay. And I can watch for the signs. I can watch for God in my life. And I can think about the evidence. The evidence is I'm okay. I'm here. I'm alive. I drove in blackouts. I'm still alive. I'm here sharing my story with people to help them. I have a purpose today. It's beautiful. It's truly amazing. And I needed to say that, so I hope someone else needed to hear it because I needed to hear that. I constantly have to ask God to direct my thinking. Um, and we don't get into the whole throughout the day thing until the next page, and that probably won't be my, I don't know, it might be my turn. We get 5 weeks really in September, so who knows? We'll wait and see. But I'll give you a little hint. I was always agitated and I was never doubtful. So we didn't have a pause over here in Elizabeth's life for a really, really long time. I had to look for it and work for it. But being divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives, um, when you're a God player, you don't know that you're constantly self-seeking. You think you're helping people. I always thought I was helping people. I don't know why you're mad at me. I didn't mean to step on your toes. I was just trying to be helpful. What are you talking about? I need to know what those words mean. I didn't know for a long time. I didn't know what the word selfish meant for a long time. And I think it's cool when we go through our 4 through 7 and we look at our defects of character, because, in each of us, they show up a little differently. We have a lot in common, but I think that we can agree on that, right? That there are some things maybe that Kathy does that I don't do, or that Howard does that I don't do, or vice versa. I need to know what it looks like in my life to be in those places. What does it sound like? I tell you what, I can tell when somebody's not sponsoring. They have a lot of time to talk about themselves, a lot of time to think about their problems. And I always ask them, how many people are you helping right now? I don't need a lot of time. I really don't. This is an action program, and life is about, effective life's about action too. I mean, what do I need time to be, worrying about? But the self-pity, man, I used to be just the queen, you know? I needed your attention. I needed that. I needed you to show that you cared about me. I never had that growing up. And when I got to AA and I landed in those open discussion meetings where one person would hijack the beginning of the meeting, often me, right? I was 21 and a half when I got back to Louisville from college, or 20, yeah, close to 22. I went to meetings with people who were about 10 years older. I was pretty cute too. Y'all, I was really cute. And I mean, I was young. And I would just whine and complain and tell, oh God, in my feelings. And people were so nice to me, and they just made me feel welcome and said to keep coming back. And I want to say that I'm grateful for that soft landing. I'm grateful for the people that are there giving that soft landing. I don't want to be one of those people today. I try to be when I can be, on a one-to-one basis in limited amounts. But I'm like more like my sponsor today, which, I keep pointing people back to the tools, because if they want to be there and if that works for them, okay, but I don't know, it didn't work that long for me. I couldn't stay in those places. And my sponsor says we do what works until it doesn't work anymore. And then we're down to a drink or God. And that has shown to be true in my life. I've gone through periods where I was compulsively going to thrift stores. I would be at the Goodwill for hours. I wouldn't even want to tell anybody how long I was there. I needed to see every little every little deal, every single thing. Um, I went through the boy crazy phase. There was always a crush in every meeting. I was like, where's the, I would even use it to my, did anyone ever do that? Where you're looking for who's going to make me want to come to this meeting? When I first got sober, I had a crush on somebody. It made me want to go to the meeting. I remember when attention from the opposite sex didn't fill the hole inside anymore, and I was mad because my sponsor told me it would happen. She said, all that stuff's not going to work anymore. Anything that you think's going to work. Being the know-it-all, I don't even care anymore. I love when other people are the ones answering this stuff. In my group, I hang back a lot and I let other people step up and answer questions and things. It's beautiful. I love my group. Um, so yeah, so I'm just like looking at these defects and knowing what they are for sure. So I know what I'm asking God to keep away, help me not do so that I can be open. I can be open to whatever comes and I can continue to watch for those old things. And when I consider my plans for the day, I have sort of an outline, right? I have a few commitments usually during the day. And then the rest of the day, and this is for me because I'm well, I haven't worked since 2007. I've been able to be a full-time mom. Not these weren't any plans or choices I made. Trust me, I got really lucky. Um, and and I'm I'm financially secure. And then I get to give a lot of my time to AA today because my kids are grown. So throughout the day, I might have a couple commitments, but then I'm open and I'll ask people, hey, does anybody need anyone to talk to? Saturday, I asked in my group if anyone needed a sponsor, that I had some room to sponsor someone. And I got so lucky because this beautiful young woman called me and we got to meet, have our first meeting. And that was one of the things I didn't know was going to happen on Saturday, because I put myself out there in the flow of life and I see where I can do God's work. Okay. And then it says, under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance, for after all, God gave us brains to use. Now, I'm going to say something that might be controversial. Yay, so everyone pay attention. I am curious where the set aside prayer came from. I love it, but I know that in the document that I have, it says to stop saying it at step 3. I don't know if you're supposed to pick it up again later, just because I'm not sure, because I'm not as well versed and educated as Howard, so he might be able to tell me later. But there are things that I need to know. Like I just said, what are the defects I'm watching for? Like I need to not forget everything, right? And I'm not walking around like a mindless robot. I have some information, I have some skills, I have some attributes, I have some assets. There are things that I've brought. I have my story. I have my story that I can use to help people. So I like that comment. I'm not sitting here without anything. I've brought something to the table. Hopefully I'm using it along with God and it's living the principles of this program and continuing to learn how to live these principles and use that experience to help others. And that's hopefully what I'm doing. Not to become, I mean, we all know the person who, I don't know, you can tell when people get off the beam and they're just spouting stuff and it doesn't sound like there's anything behind it, and it's like, where are you? They get stale. Um, I get sad when people tell the same story every single time. I'm not a fan of that. Some people like it. Although some stories I can hear over and over, for sure. I really enjoy some stories over and over and over. Let me see. Yeah, our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. I had a really long resentment against someone, and I struggled with it. It was like this woman was like a representation of my sister. And my sister never got in trouble. She would sneak into our parents' room and steal money out of my stepfather's money clip and never get caught. I was the one who always got in trouble. Always, and she was the one, she knew how to look good and never. And so I met this woman in the AA community who was like that, and yet kind of kicking me in the shin over here on the side and doing some things that I didn't like. And um, I used to not be, I didn't want to be nice to people who were mean to me. I had bullies as a kid. I got bullied in my family. I got bullied at school. Now, today as an adult, if somebody bullies me, I don't want to be nice to them. I don't, but AA asks us to treat everyone with love and tolerance. And I knew this and I felt it and I didn't want to act that way. I really didn't want to, and I kept praying to God and asking for help because I kept running into the person too. And I knew that would happen. I know because if I am struggling with something, it'll be put in my life. The lesson will keep coming back. My sponsor one time, she said, I hope you get this time because I don't want to go through this again. Like get that lesson. And I just kept praying and I thought about, people are doing the best they can. Everybody's doing the best they can. She's doing the best she can. And I kept praying to God for the right motive and the right thought. How can I feel love and tolerance and kindness and patience towards this person? And I love that our thought life will be on a higher plane. That higher plane is me wanting to be loving and kind and patient and tolerant. And then I'm clear, like I have so much more energy. It says it elsewhere, right? We don't burn up energy so easily when that's gone. I don't get in the shower and think about somebody. I don't wake up thinking about somebody. It's like part of my brain isn't being hijacked. And I really love that. So this is reminding me every day when I wake up to remember to check in with God and ask for the right motives today. And my whole day can be so much better. Hold on, I see someone's texting me. Okay, how much time do I have left? Oh my God, I didn't start the timer. Oh, there it is, 12. Okay. All right, we're gonna do the next one. I don't see Howard. He walked away. Okay. Y'all ready? Okay. I love this next paragraph so much. Okay, so we're at the bottom of 86. In thinking about our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Here we ask God for inspiration, an intuitive thought, or a decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We are often surprised how the right answers come after we have tried this for a while. What used to be the hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. Being still inexperienced and having just made conscious contact with God, it is not probable that we are going to be inspired at all times. We might pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. Nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely upon it. You know what the big mystery of this paragraph is? It's time. It's time. A friend of mine said, have you ever tried to write a text and you can't write it? You're editing it, you keep editing it, and you go back and you're writing it again and you're not sure what to say? You know what she said? She said, do you know what that means? It means you're not supposed to write it yet. Boom. That's it. Do you know how much of my life I run around trying to resolve unresolved things, answer unanswered questions? I mean, I probably used to pray and just answered the prayer. I didn't wait for the answer. I also have ADD, in case anyone couldn't tell. Yeah, got diagnosed in 2008. I'm medicated for it. And and yeah, so I'm always running at the speed that what is this? I think isn't it Peggy in Florida? She says, or what's her name? Polly? I forget her name now. And she says, "My God is so slow. He's slow." You know, I grew up in a house where my parents were alcoholic. My stepdad was bipolar. We needed to know what mood he was in, to know if we could go make a sandwich in the kitchen. They would get into fights. My mom would take us out of bed in the middle of the night, go stay at someone else's house. We never knew what was going to happen. I'm a little control freak. I want to know what's going to happen. I'm so uncomfortable when I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how to live through that. And I'm telling you, I did not even try this until the past 5 years. I don't know how or when it started, but I realized I answer all the questions. I fill in all the blanks. I heard it was Matt T quoting Donna J, and he said, "When I do what's suggested in AA, God will meet me halfway." I didn't know what that meant when I first heard it, because see, my ego didn't let me know that I was missing anything for a really long time. I didn't know I was missing anything. I didn't know I wasn't having a regular conscious contact with God in this program. I had no idea. Um, I didn't know I figured I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think you all were having it and I wasn't. My ego didn't even let me go that far. It doesn't let me when it's in charge, right? And it operates in the subconscious mind. We should do a talk on Tebow sometime, Howard. Um, oh my gosh. So when I first heard that quote, I didn't know what it meant. And then somewhere along the line, I realized I fill in every blank, I answer every question, I resolve every unresolved issue. I'm one of those annoying people that'll send you 5 texts. You're like, oh God, here she comes with her 5 texts. Is anyone smiling? Does anyone know these people, right? And you got to put them on mute notifications. I'll get an idea. I have to watch this stuff, or I'm overbearing to people. They don't like it. I have to really pay attention to this and be careful, you know. And sometimes I apologize. Some days I'm good and some days I'm not, and I apologize. You know, sorry for all the messages. Um, and I realized that, oh God, oh my gosh, you know, stop, just stop. I got called out for some of this behavior, and I learned to slow down. And then I heard that quote from my friend, her name's Victoria, about the stop texting if you don't know what to say. That means you're not supposed to do it yet. And I started to wait. And I'm telling you, at first, when I started to practice this, it was really uncomfortable. I did not like, I would go and I'd be like, nope, 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 don't do it. You're not clear. It's not clear. You don't have a clear action or answer or direction. Leave it alone, you know? And what do they say? An answer to every question is, some people say yes, no, or not now, or yes, not now, or I have something better for you. Just, you know, I have learned to this relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. And you know what? The right answers do come. It's really amazing. And sometimes if I wait on something, and it's not, we're talking about being in one day here, it doesn't happen for me in one day. A lot of things don't, you know, but a lot of times people will ask me questions about things that aren't in today. They're in like 3 days from now or next week. And I say, you're going to wake up that day and you're going to pray and ask God for direction. But until then, is there any action you can take on it today? If there's no action you can take on it today, don't need to think about it. And that's really where step 12 for me comes in. If there's something that my brain wants to keep thinking about, I can go call a newcomer. I can go find somebody to work with to get me out of self. And I live by that. I mean, literally, it's the book says it over and over. It's the fastest way. It's the best. You know, it helps me get right out of self. Or I just say, God, okay, redirect me, help, you know, and then I just kind of wait for a minute and something will happen. It's crazy. Um, I just really love that. Yeah, that's one of my favorite sentences in the whole book is we relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We are surprised. The right answers come after we've tried this for a while. And then it says, where does it say it? Sorry, see, I need my glasses. Sorry, guys. Our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely upon it. When I stop thinking about how to answer every question in my life, in your life, you know, in the world, in the next 50 years, in the last 20 years, like when I stopped doing that, because my brain was like, you know, three hamsters on three wheels, was just running all the time. Oh my gosh, the peacefulness of that. It's like I'm almost bored sometimes. I ask somebody, what do you do? They're like, audiobooks. Like, what do I do? And I'm not trying to solve the world's problems all the time in my mind. But no, but it's so nice. And the more I do it, the more I want to do it. The less uncomfortable it becomes for me not to have the answers about something. And I can watch um, people that, you know, and it's also about control. I don't need to control things. It's going to be okay. You know, we're here in a Zoom software platform right now. And I'm going to tell you what, we have found in our home group, we have so little control over this platform. I mean, we end up kicking the wrong person out. Today they had trouble with somebody logging in as the host and somebody, I guess you can hit that switch button and kick somebody out. It's really, we have so little control. We have little control over this software platform, right? And you just got to let it go. I mean, you can't get too upset. There's no point, you know, what are you going to do? I mean, I don't know anybody at Zoom to call them up and complain. I mean, you know, I think we'd have to pay a lot more money to have that kind of power. I don't know, than we do. So, um, some things don't have answers. Some things don't need to have answers, you know? And I see that as a method of control that I want to, you know, I want to talk about something or know about something or, I went through something once and sometimes I want to understand things that aren't understandable as a way to control them, as a way to have some kind of sense of control. And I have let go of a lot. I heard the quote recently, let go or be dragged. Yeah. Um, but it really is relaxing to not have to have all the answers all the time. and know that my higher power is going to give me exactly what I need when it is needed, or, sometimes by the time something comes up, either the decision has been taken away, it's already been resolved without me getting involved. That's amazing. One time, oh my gosh, I recommended somebody for a position in a situation, and I thought I knew who they were after one phone call. And then we kind of found out that there were some principles that were maybe missing and some behavior that was really not very admirable. And I thought, oh, great. I'm the one who recommended them. Should I do anything? And I ran it past somebody else. I said, what should I do? And they said, I don't think you can do anything. And it's like, yeah, I know, you're right. Well, we kind of made our bed and now we got to lie in it. It's we'll just have to trust God with this. And do you know by the next morning, the person resigned from the position? I was like, what? What? Come on, this doesn't happen, does it? I mean, when I let God be in charge, it's amazing. And I can just sit back and watch. And if it's aligned with principles, the principles we learn in this program, I'm telling you, and then if it isn't aligned with the principles, I mean, it usually doesn't work out and somebody's paying a painful price, you know. Um, but yeah, this really is one of my favorite gifts of the past 5 years is the fact that I am peaceful. I'm so much more peaceful in general, and I can relax and I can wait for God to chime in and bring an answer to something, and I don't have to be the one, you know. Um, and I can rely on it. I can rely on it. The very first time I made what I saw as instant conscious contact, I was on Zoom and I was starting to get asked to speak a lot because, they hear you have over 30 years at first and they don't even know what you got to offer, but they'll ask you. So I spoke at this meeting in Thousand Oaks, California, and this woman called me and she told me she was really hopeless and scared, and she didn't know what to do, and she was on benzos, and no one would sponsor her, and they were telling her all this stuff, and I didn't know what to say. I don't have that experience. I thought, oh my gosh, she sounds really hopeless. I feel out of my depth. I don't know what to do. So I started texting my sponsor. My sponsor had moved to rural Maine for a job and didn't have cell reception. I mean, it was horrible. She could only call me. She doesn't know anything about, Wi-Fi calling. I mean, good luck, right? And she could only call me when she was not at home, and our calls would just drop off. So talk about being fast with her. I would have to get to the point quick because I didn't know when the call was going to end. But so I'm texting her. I'm like, I don't know what to say to this woman. Help, can you call me? And then I prayed. I said, God, I don't know what to say to this woman. And I heard like words. She called you, give her your experience. And I said to her, when my life sounds like, and I didn't plan this, it just came out of my mouth. I said, when my life sounds like yours, usually there's something I'm not doing in the AA triangle. And then I briefly went over what that was: recovery, unity, and service. And she started laughing. She said, oh my gosh, you're right. I'm not doing anything. And by the next day, she had taken action in two of the three sides and she was much, much better. And it was the first time that I really realized that I didn't have the answer. And I prayed and I got the answer. And I was like, whoa, and I've had lots of beautiful God moments. I've had, my third child was unplanned. It was a very scary situation for me because I'm from an old family where you should be married. I don't care what decade we're in or whatever. And I would constantly cry and think, what am I going to do? And my family's going to turn their back on me. And one day, I just got this download, and God was like, "This is your child. It's going to be okay. Um, I've given you two other children to take care of, and you've done a great job, and you're going to be okay." And it wasn't like words that time. It was just this weird knowing thing that it was like a sunbeam kind of. And it was at a time when I was literally had no answers, was terrified. Every time I thought about telling my father that I'd gotten pregnant, I started crying. I mean, it was horrible. And I was 39. I mean, I was 39 years old and I was terrified. Oh my God, of letting him down. It's been, by the way, it's been just an amazing, I could do a whole story about that whole thing and just God all over it. And his dad is like my best friend. I mean, it's such a beautiful story, that whole thing. Um, but I remember where I was exactly, I think in pictures. So I remember where I was in Louisville. I was driving. I had this horrible job I had to take after my business failed. Oh, it was terrible. And I was always stuck in traffic because of where it was versus where I lived. And this thing was going on. And I remember feeling like that was really my God speaking to me. But conscious contact calling on that it's often a lot quieter, but I know that that's what it is. I know when, like, I can feel it because I'll be working with someone and some inspiration will come. And often I'll tell them what I'll say, while you were talking, I was, I thought about this, and tell me if it sounds right for you. And then I'll tell them, and they'll a lot of times they'll say, "Oh my gosh, yeah, wow, thank you," and it's not something I really analyzed. Um, and one more story on that. A few years ago, I was trying to determine whether to leave my home group, and today my home group, Howard, is ABC newcomers. A little more structure, a little more experience in the background on that one, and I was trying to decide whether to leave my old home group. And I decided to wait until the business meeting that next month and make my decision based on some things that happened at that meeting. And then I knew I don't need to think about it till then. I literally don't even need to. That felt like the right thing, to wait for that day, get the information of that day that would occur. And I had a friend call me, and she said, "Well, what are you going to do about your home group? What about this? And what about that? And what about this? What about?" I said, "I've decided I'm going to wait till November 12th and make my decision that day." "Oh, okay. Well, what?" And she kept wanting to talk. And I realized I don't make decisions by analysis anymore. It is some combination of information and inspiration, but I wasn't going to get the information until the next November 12th. So I knew I didn't need to spend my time and energy worrying about it until then. But it really, I saw, wow, I don't do this anymore. I don't need to talk about this, you know? So it's very relaxing when you stop, needing to have every answer at every moment of every day, and you can let God run the show. And that's my time. Thank you.